Hey everybody, we are coming to you live today. This is something new, certainly new for Medical Minute. It's our episode 50, and we would like to claim that we had this great idea to do a live episode for episode 50 because it is momentous. But the truth of the matter is, we're scrambling. We're scrambling today. So because a series of misadventures have brought us live to you today. So, first and foremost, we were supposed to have Dr. Mark Watkins, who's the Chief Medical Officer for Kroger Health, and his schedule changed, and so we had to come up with something different. And we'll have Mark back at some other day, but his schedule changed. So what we did was we pivoted, because that's a big word since the pandemic. And
also,
on Monday,
a good Friends reference as well.
Friends?
Oh yeah, Pivot.
Oh, that's the
Huge.
famous one where he comes.
Pivot
Yeah, okay.
With the couch.
With the couch. Yeah, that is a classic. Even though I didn't watch much Friends, I do know that one.
Yes,
So,
sorry. I digress.
So we shot an episode on Monday,
Mhm.
and on Tuesday, Chris's hard drive crashed, and so we lost all of our audio files. And so we could have run the video with no audio, which might have actually been a blessing for people. But we decided to do.
Steve, I think this is Jill's first time finding out that my hard drive crashed.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry about that, but I'm sorry to out you on live TV. But anyway, so here we are. And so, and then in keeping with the whole theme, Sherry Hughes, our other co-host, is somewhere else. We don't know what, but she's going to come bursting in here shortly.
Any given
At
moment.
any given moment. Yeah, exactly. So all of this, though, it's okay, because what it does allow us, and we'll do this shortly. There she is. We just announced that you were somewhere else.
Somewhere.
On your way here. Here's Sherry.
Had to run in here.
Yeah, exactly. But it's okay, because it allows us to close out September, which is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, and we'll cover some information in just a bit that is pertinent to prostate cancer survivors, in particular to advanced prostate cancer survivors who until recently didn't have quite the wealth of treatment opportunities that they have now.
Well,
So
and we're about to kick off October,
Yeah.
yes,
which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Busy month.
And you are killing it
I know,
today.
you're all in pink.
After 6 years of hormone therapy, I figured I have earned the right to wear pink whenever I want.
Whenever you want.
That's right, exactly. So I have my 30A pink hat on as well. Even though I am getting some hair back, enough that
it's long enough to pull.
well, and enough that I did see some come out on the brush yesterday. So
wow.
that's something.
You could maybe lather that.
In fact, I did lather it this morning, and it no longer squeaks when I clean it. Yeah, there's some resistance there now, which is good.
Nice.
So we'll see how that goes.
So
but,
you got news.
Yeah, so I got news. In fact, we told them we've gone through the misadventures that have led us to this somewhat frenzied podcast today.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
but what we're going to prove is that just like we rally against cancer, we can rally against ill fate, which is what we're doing today. So,
yes.
So Sherry,
Yes.
It is episode 50, and you were our first episode.
Yeah.
We were kind of sneaking around back then.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know what that would yield of,
Yes.
serendipity,
Yeah.
know.
When I hired Chris, I told him I didn't know much, but I know I wanted to do a podcast. And then when you came on, I told you I wanted you to be part of the podcast.
Yeah, and who knew? And now look, I'm a part of not only the podcast, but the whole team.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Our drives
Exactly.
left and right.
I actually had to come here for a consultation to be part of the team,
Mhm.
which I did in June of 2020 and joined in September. But so tell me, I'm curious, especially since we're doing this live today, how do you compare and contrast what we do to your life in an actual
Wow.
professional TV
Well,
environment?
first of all, our guy Chris
Yeah.
he's awesome. And you know what? He puts together productions similar to what we put together in the television industry.
Okay.
Literally, you know what you need, those that can communicate a thought. Then you need some technology, and then you put all that together, and And, you're able to do what we do here is present this podcast, which is good. But yeah, it's very similar. We have all the lighting and we have the cameras and we have the audio, and all that makes for a good podcast.
And it's cozy enough that it feels like a New York studio, right?
It does. I mean, people are impressed usually when they come in and they see that we actually have a real live studio.
Yeah.
I think that if anybody were to increase their viewing, we could probably do that if we rolled our blooper reel that Chris has created over the last 50 episodes.
Yes. So there's kind of what people see and what they don't see in the 3 minutes that that lead up to the broadcast, which some of which is not safe for work. But but there was a particular blooper, and Jill made me dress up for Christmas, and so I exacted some revenge on her. And you'll see that here in just a second.
We had talked last week about the checkpoint inhibitors, and those are your drugs like Keytruda, Opdivo, Yervoy, Libtayo, Tecentriq, Bavencio, just to rattle off a few for you. And those drugs are checkpoint inhibitors. We talked about that last week. And what those drugs do is they take the brakes off the immune system. Okay. Then to switch gears, kind of like what you were asking, what are cell therapies? And cell therapies are where you take your own immune cells and you boost them in numbers. And this is usually done in a lab outside of the body. And they essentially manufacture them in mass quantity and then give it back as part of the, I can't. You gotta warn the girl. That was early. Okay. Oh my gosh. No, what got me was when you guys like this. I can't.
So anyway, I've often pointed out that that we have fun here, and that's never meant to make light of cancer. As a matter of fact, several of our staff members, myself and Sherry included, are cancer survivors, and you guys have grown up around it and have seen what this disease does to people. So we're never trying to make fun of anything or to make light of it. But by contrast, I think we're trying to not let it control our lives.
Yeah, we're trying to educate and to have people become a part of the conversation so that they're not so afraid to hear the word cancer. I've had many people through my diagnosis that would come up to me and say, "Oh, hi, it's so good to see you." And since you had, I'm like, you can say it, cancer. Right. And you said we're survivors, but we want to keep on surviving. We want to help others too. And a part of that survivorship is, feeling confident, right? And comfortable in talking about what's going on in your life, or at least not letting it impact you in such an adverse way that it causes you anxiety and fear.
Yeah, exactly. Because you got enough other things to deal with while you're going through treatment. And that's actually that's a really relevant comment, because one of the things we wanted to talk about today, which I mentioned, is still September is still Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Got a couple more days left, but to your point, Sherry, I recently had another PSMA PET scan done, and this is a test that was not readily available, particularly not in the U.S. until very recently.
Right. This year.
Yeah, exactly. It was early this year. Yeah, that's right.
Approved this year.
And one of the things that's always been problematic with prostate cancer, the one piece of good news is that it is a very treatable, survivable disease in almost every case, but it's always been really difficult to find it. So you have, in many cases, you operate on assumptions, which is, we'll do surgery and remove the gland. Okay, well, if that didn't get it, then we'll do radiation because it's probably still somewhere local. But it's always been based on presumption and past history and anecdotal and statistical evidence. Now we have a tool where you can inject a radioactive tracer that is taken up by a molecule that resides on prostate cancer cells.
That's technology.
Yeah, and it's huge. And so that was an FDA recently approved FDA imaging technique that is really revolutionary in finding out where the cancer cells are. And so I've now had 4 of those. I had 2 of them in Michigan.
Have you had 4?
I've had 4. This is normally where you say "Go Bucks."
Yeah.
As I mentioned,
Does
Michigan.
it stay in your
Okay.
system? Is it radioactive?
Well, it's but the half-life on it's only a couple hours.
Okay.
So it's gone pretty quick.
It won't be glowing in the dark anymore.
No.
Thank goodness.
Although I will tell you, it was daunting when I went to MD Anderson. They brought it in a 13 pound tungsten canister, which when you realize that's what's going into your body,
system.
it's a little daunting.
Well,
but
if they were all wearing hazmat suits and
Right,
handling it with like the
right,
the iron tongs,
right.
That would be an
different.
issue. That would be an issue.
So but I've now had 4 of those, and in each case up until now, they have identified the location of cells that have been actionable through radiation, or chemotherapy, which I started in late June of this year. And so I just had the 4th one done, and that PET scan, what that told us was, I didn't print out the report because we kind of know what it says. But what that said is that really, in my case, all the places where prostate cancer has been found, at least through April in my prior scan, it's still there.
Or stable.
Or stable. But it is smaller in virtually every case. So, I mean,
that's what you want. I
mean,
it's not that huge decrease that you wanted to see, but as long as it's not advancing, that's good news.
Exactly. And so in that in virtually every case, it is regressing to a certain degree. So that was good news. But it's probably not, and Jill will amplify this, but it's probably not at a level where we can rely on chemotherapy in my case, to knock this back for any length of time.
We would have expected to see a little bit more of a robust response. With you being chemo naive or not having ever received chemo before, we would have expected that after 4 treatments, you would have seen a noticeable amount of shrinking in those areas. And so when you see that things have minimally shrunk or are stable, yes, absolutely. That is a great thing because you have to stop the growth before you can shrink it. So that is a positive. But for people who have been taking care of prostate cancer patients for any length of time, they know that typically if you don't see that robust response in the beginning, the durability of the response isn't typally what we would like to see.
Right.
So then, Steve, what would be next then in terms of additional treatment for for what's going on with the prostate cells?
No, I appreciate the question. It's one of the things. It's like when I got those results, but you partly think, oh, should I have even done the chemotherapy? But there's 2 things. One, you never know until you try.
Correct.
And then 2, at least by doing the chemotherapy, I am now eligible for a PSA based treatment called Pluvicto, which is even more recently FDA approved. I think it was approved in March or April. And then there were some production delays, and it's still being rolled out to some of the major cancer centers.
And it's still pretty limited on where you can get it.
Still very limited on where you can get it. But the good news is that this is what's called a radioligand treatment, and so it's a combination of this radioactive imaging technique, and it also uses a radioactive isotope. So it finds the prostate cancer cells. Just like it does in the PSMA PET scan, but then it also targets those cells with radiation. Basically,
here comes my movie reference.
She has a movie reference.
So because you guys didn't get to see the recorded version because it crashed with Chris's hard drive, I actually beat Steve to the punch, which never happens for a movie reference. So the way that I described Pluvicto is kind of like the scene from Top Gun.
Okay.
When the pilot has, he's trying to get a lock, and you always see it, and the red little thing is going around, and it's going around and it's going around, and then when it hits its target, it goes red and goes beep, and
Yeah.
he knows that it's locked in, and then they fire and boom.
So that's
Done.
Pluvicto.
That's
what it's going to
Pluvicto.
do. So
Yeah.
when can you
Specific to PSA.
get it?
Yeah. So actually, I have an existing appointment and set up for November 15th to go to MD Anderson. That's one of the cancer centers that does have it. It does have it. I'm sorry. And what we're looking into is whether there's something that's closer, maybe in Indiana at IU or potentially up at the James in Columbus.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks there. That's right.
What's taking us so long, so that it's more accessible?
Yeah. So what happened was, and I don't really know that was ever fully discussed, but there was some kind of quality control on the production line at Novartis, which is the Swiss company that produces it. And so they had to stop production. And it was really unfortunate because it was right after guys were with advanced prostate cancer were getting the drug. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, you can't get it anymore. So,
well, and you got to figure it's not Pillsbury break and bake chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is high level.
This is high level. I know,
Technical,
right?
Innovative.
Yes. So and the degree of science that we're dealing with, you're almost like, well, I hate to see things slow down, but I absolutely want them to.
Yeah.
Because you don't want that to impact durability and the overall response. You want it to be spot on.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what's next up for me. And so the question is, I think I'll go ahead, probably have my last chemotherapy treatment. There's a question about whether I even need to do that at this point. If I can get on Pluvicto earlier than mid-November. But regardless, I will go down and see my medical oncologist down at MD Anderson, who, by the way, will be a featured speaker this weekend at our ASCO Direct Best of Oncology Highlights conference at the Hyatt Regency.
We got a lot.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of good lineup.
Yeah.
For that conference.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, Dr. Chris Logothetis, who's a renowned, really, you could say worldwide expert on what we call GU, genitourinary, which includes
genitourinary,
which includes what organs and
all
glands and
all the stuff in the pelvis of the men. So you've got testicular, prostate, all those boy parts.
Okay, gotcha.
I have a question with Pluvicto. How soon can you see results or no results from that?
It's variable. Not everybody responds, but the response rate has been quite good.
Okay.
And so even someone like me who's had a little bit of a problematic history, even on hormone therapy, I didn't perform overly well. But according to Dr. Logothetis, they're seeing cases where guys have failed other things and they're doing very well on that. Now the treatments are every 6 weeks, typically 6 cycles. So you don't even wrap up treatment for 8 months in total.
And I would guess that they probably wouldn't even rescan until they've got at least 2, maybe 3 in.
Okay, gotcha.
They'll continue to watch your PSA and your labs and things like that. But you don't want to check things too quickly.
In a radiation-based technique like that, would it be reasonable to start to see results after a couple treatments, 2 or 3 treatments, you think? Okay.
You should start to see something.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. So anyway, so that's the plan. And we can periodically keep people updated. I always try to do it within the context of prostate cancer because there's just so much happening in the world of prostate cancer, particularly in the world of advanced prostate cancer.
I really feel like, because I've been in oncology for 18 going on 19 years. And I feel like, we just had the same old for so long in prostate cancer. And then all of a sudden the science is finally catching up and it's all exploding and we're getting more and more options for these men who have been dealing with this cancer for a long time. So it's exciting.
That's progress, and that's what you want to see. If it all comes all at once, then bring it on. But you want to see that progress.
Yep, exactly. And there's been a lot of that obviously as a result of funding. So join us for our co-sponsored event with Zero, the end of prostate cancer, October 9th. We're going to do a walk at Otto Armletter Park, which is down near Lunken Airport. And it'll be a great event. So, but Zero has been instrumental in funding or in seeking funding for prostate cancer research. Has produced a lot of these life-saving and life-extending drugs. So anyway, it's really, really great organization. So this has been fun. already looking forward to episode 100, which we hope is less eventful than 50.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
But and maybe hopefully by that time Chris will have his hard drive back and working. So
Oh, yeah, I think he's working on it right
I
now.
wanted to mention that one more time.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
Bless his
So,
heart.
exactly. So
I'm just thinking like the hard drive hasn't been impacted for the big event on Saturday, right? Okay, good. Because yeah,
and if you think about
I'm
it,
sitting here, my heart's like going.
it's somewhat ironic that we talk about bloopers, but that is the ultimate blooper that his hard drive is gone.
Yeah.
That's
But it
really,
just lets you know that things can happen, But like you
Yeah.
said, we just keep rolling. We find
Yep.
a way.
Yep.
that's why
Absolutely.
Dr. Barrett reminds me that's why he uses index cards. Anything that's important to him can fit on an index card in his pocket. So,
Yes.
And that's
I
how he
love it.
manages. So
I'll start working on a way to put my
Yeah,
video
yeah,
files on an
see
index
about
card.
that.
an index card.
flip cards. That's how they used to do it. You would do,
Yeah.
They would do those real fast flip
Yep.
things. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Okay.
it's taught us something.
That's
We
true.
need a backup to the backup.
That's true.
Back
true.
up to the backup.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us. We went longer than usual, but this was a fun format, I think, for all of us. So we'll do it again sometime. We'll be back here with episode 51 next week, where we'll talk to Sherry about a couple things. And we'll be here Wednesday at noon, like usual. And thanks again for joining us, everybody. Have a great week.